This video will contain spoilers from the world and story of Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero. Please beware. Now, stories of miraculous survivors are nothing new to the world of Subnautica. I mean, after all, you play as Riley in the first game and you manage to escape out of a situation that most people would probably think you cannot get out of. However, regardless, I think people were still very surprised to learn that one of the members of the Degassi crew from the original game in fact managed to make it over into Below Zero and is right now alive. Marguerite. Now obviously, the story is still being developed and her story arc is far from being done. However, I think that today we might just be able to look a little bit closer at who she is, how she's been surviving, and how has life been for her, well, while remaining on planet 4546b. That's right, today we're going to be looking at her updated base that can be found in Subnautica Below Zero in the experimental mode. We'll be checking out what's new inside and we'll see if there are any theories or at least high-level conclusions that we can draw about how she lived out her days. So with that out of the way, get into your modified prawn suit, get ready to tackle some Reaper Leviathans with a knife, and let's go. Now first things first, approaching the base just on its own, it is located deep underwater, and that is most likely for two reasons. Number one, it keeps Marguerite kind of protected from things that could be going on the surface, which honestly, if we're talking about Below Zero, looking at the frozen Leviathan, these might even be more dangerous than some of the underwater creatures. But also number two, it is within a relatively tight cave system, which it is possible that at least keeps some of the largest predators out of the way. And also obviously, she might have access to some of the more rare resources, which are, well, closer at hand. Now looking from the outside, the base has definitely been there a while. It is definitely a design similar to bases that we can build in the first game, sharing the color palette, sharing the structure, the paneling, etc. However, containing some rooms that we haven't had access to. So we can either guess that these were simply developed earlier, and as the PDA got updated, the blueprints for them were removed, or perhaps Marguerite just managed to get the PDA of someone higher ranking than her and simply used that to access PDA entries that would be, well, of perhaps higher level. Now obviously the outside of the base is a little bit corroded and you can see some beginnings of microorganisms that are starting to just grow around it. However, it is not in too bad of a condition, and considering that we can actually take approximate guesses at how long it's been there, I think it managed to hold up remarkably well. But let's be honest, the really interesting stuff is what can be found on the inside. Entering through the Seamoth Bay and walking through the first airlock, you quickly arrive to what is effectively the first room of the facility. And this looks to be some sort of a workshop. In the middle you can see one of the Snowfox scooters being taken apart. On the walls you can see shelves with different tools and different parts from other machines. And of course on the back you can see the giant Reaper skull, which is presumed to be that Reaper that Marguerite killed with a knife on her way to Sector Zero. Now looking at this room, there's actually something interesting about it, because I'm not gonna lie, I highly doubt that the Snowfox scooters would be something that was available to her back when she landed, or well, crash landed on the planet. So chances are a lot of the stuff we're seeing here, especially these boxes, are being stolen from the modern Altera, which had arrived on the planet, well, only relatively recently, and Marguerite has simply been scavenging, well, whatever she can. Immediately we can also see from this room alone how well she is adapted to living on the alien planet, having many pieces of furniture, cloth, and even the lamps constructed of what appear to be animal skins that simply were dried up, in combinations with small ropes and bones. It is also, however, very clear that her focus is still, even after all this time, on survival, and not necessarily comfort. The base is kind of filthy on the inside as well. The walls are dirty, the floor is dirty, and you would think if you're spending your whole days on this planet, well, she would have at least some time to clean up. But clearly, that just hasn't been the priority. Now moving along through what is clearly a busted and non-functional door, we arrive into what could probably be called the kitchen and the dining area. There's a large table in the middle laying on a ribcage of some animal, maybe that same Reaper, and don't ask me how she got that glass panel, I have no idea. However, on the kitchen counter and above the window, we can see the way that she has been maintaining food. We can see different fish being hung to dry, We can see large slabs of meat supposedly being prepped for, well, some kind of curing, and we can even see portions of unfinished food laying all around the place. And yeah, it does also seem pretty likely that Marguerite is kind of an alcoholic considering all the bottles she has around the place. Moving further into the habitat, we can also find what is effectively the bathroom containing several indoor grow beds, which these are extremely fascinating. And why, you ask? Well, consider what is growing in them. These are all plants that can be found on the island in the first game, and none of them have so far been spotted in Sector 0. So how does she have them? Well, the only two possible explanations are either that she already happened to be carrying some with her when she was attacked by the Reaper, which is unlikely but not impossible, or two, that she miraculously actually managed to make a trip back to the crater where the original game takes place through the field of ghost leviathans, which even with her being the badass she is, I have no idea how she would do. And then she got the samples for them and returned. Now, considering both of these theories sound kind of unlikely, I'm wondering if there is also a way that she simply stole these somewhere else, or maybe there is actually a place where they grow in Sector 0 but we just haven't discovered it yet. But it's definitely possible that it's just something that we'll get more information on as the game is more developed. It is also worth noting here that the mirror that appears on the wall is cracked, and whereas obviously it could just be a sign of wear from the overall state of the facility, it could also be a sign of the kind of mental state that Marguerite has found herself in after all these years of solitude and fighting for her life. Finally, the last room we get to explore is effectively her bedroom, and we can once again see more into her drinking habits with another bottle being readily available right on the reading table and a few others on the shelves behind her. Once again, all these bottles could potentially support the trip back to the crater theory. However, it's also possible that they are much more recent and simply stolen from Altera. Here we can also see signs of the fact that she's keeping herself in shape with an old beat-up punching bag and some other equipment that can be found behind it. Now, there are a few very interesting observations, however, that we can make here, and I think the first one is, why would there be two glasses on the table? I mean, obviously you can just make the argument that, well, she's just lazy. She got one that got dirty, she got another one without washing the first one. Easy explanation out of the way. However, who knows, perhaps there is a theory to be made about her having some sort of a secret visit at some point. It is also worth noting here, however, that next to the bottle of booze, it seems like she was tinkering with a health kit, so it is not completely impossible that she is suffering from some sort of an injury that she's actively trying to treat, or at least suppress the symptoms of, well, by using all the booze in her base. But as of right now, that seems to be about everything there is to the upgraded base. There is a lot of stuff to look at on the inside, however, all of it mostly points to the same thing. She's been there a long time, she's gotten really good at surviving, but clearly not great at taking care of the place, taking care of herself, and, well, possibly maintaining a stable mental state. The place is filthy and clearly shows that she struggles with alcoholism, or at least some sort of an addiction, but on the other hand, it also shows and contains signs of things that she probably wouldn't be able to get from her current position without either having carried them over from back when she was attacked by the Reaper, or simply making a round trip back to the crater, well, at some point, to retrieve the items. So is it perhaps possible that while you were struggling in the crater as Riley, Marguerite was chilling out here in Sector 0, and had she wanted to, she could have made her way over there with all her decked out equipment and assisted you in some way? Well, who knows, and I definitely don't think it's in her character to do that, but well, we can always dream. But with that, I'm gonna end the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed and learned at least something new about this update to Subnautica, and have at least something more to think about before more of the Subnautica Below Zero story comes out. If you liked the video, maybe consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. All of those would be very much appreciated. And if there's anything that I missed, or theories of your own about Marguerite or her base that you would like to cover, make sure to leave those down in the comments as well. I would very much like to read them. Now with that, I'm gonna wish you all a beautiful rest of the day, and I'll see you in whatever next video I make. Bye bye.